This is Darren DePaul. You may or may not know me as a voice in some video games you may or may not be playing. And right now, you may or may not be listening to The Gaming Outsider. Roll the theme song. There may or may not be a theme song.
Welcome to the Gaming Outsider Podcast. This week, Jacob, CB, and I welcome Joel Baer from the Blueshift Big Band to talk about the appeal of video game music covers performed by bands. In news, it sounds like the Oblivion remake rumors could actually be true. As for new games, CB and I are having a blast with Assassin's Creed Shadow. Plus, David stops by to tell us about a game he's playing called On Your Tail. And Mark tells us about his experience with Karma: The Dark World. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to the Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. My name is Scott Clark. I'm your host. Joining me are my good friends, Chris Behrensmeyer. What's up, man?
Hola, friends.
Also, Jacob Gunderson. How you doing?
Fox, that's one of ours.
You can't reference stuff we talked about before we started recording, man. It doesn't.
Oh, no,
work.
he can still do it. It doesn't matter. All good.
As I mentioned, we are a video game podcast. You can find our community at facebook.com/groups/the GoCast or our Discord server. There's a link in the show notes and also our website, thegamingoutsider.com. We would love it if you checked it out. Jake and CB are joining me today. Zack, unfortunately, is ill. But, guys, I have a fantastic guest to introduce to you. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the band from the Blueshift Big Band. And he is the I'm getting this wrong, the drummer and co-leader of the Blueshift Band, Mr. Joel Baer. Joel, how you doing, man?
Hey, everybody. Hi.
Hello.
Guys, Joel is a musician that does video game music in Rockford. We just learned this, a couple months ago, I think we talked to you first?
I'm the one guy. That's me. The only one.
I'm the guy.
We haven't found anybody else yet. So if any Rockford peeps are listening that do video game music covers, live performance, we'd love to talk to you. But we wanted to have Joel on here because he's actually doing a very special performance coming up on April 5th at the Coronado. He's playing with the Rockford Symphony Orchestra. Joel, can you tell us a little bit about your band, what style of music it is, and about this performance? Because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, sure. So let me start with the performance. As you said, April 5th, we are going to be performing with the Rockford Symphony Orchestra at the Coronado Theater for RSO at the Arcade, an entire evening of video game music. You're going to hear the orchestra play some things like Zelda, music from everything from, I think, Civilization to Call of Duty to Angry Birds. And you're going to hear us play our thing. We are a 17-piece jazz orchestra, which means we have 5 saxophones, 4 trombones, 4 trumpets, guitar, bass, drums, and keys. And we are going to play our thing. They're going to play their thing. And then we're going to combine, just like the Megazord on Power Rangers, to create something even bigger and better. So you'll hear some tunes with the big band and strings.
That sounds amazing. I have not had the pleasure of seeing you play live yet, so I'm going to this. Actually, Jake and I are both going to be there, going to be able to see it live, and we're actually going to be providing some bonus stuff for, I guess, some people in the VIP lounge. We're going to have some arcade cabinets set up for people to play. So if you are coming to the show and you want to come hang out, maybe get the VIP access. I don't know what they got to do that, Joel. Maybe I should ask you.
I don't even know if I know what they need to do that, but they can go to the Rockford Symphony Orchestra, rockfordsymphonyorchestra.com. There are tickets available now. They're going quick. It's going to be a pretty great show. There is a Smash Brothers tournament in the lobby before the show, and I think their spaces are limited. So that's being run by the Rockford University esports team, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great evening of video game music, man. I'm really excited about all of that.
I love that this has become a thing. It's really funny. I obviously learned about this a couple of months ago when we met with you in person. And all of a sudden, I'm getting messenger messages and texts being like, "Hey, Scott, thought you might be interested in this." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm going." Like, the drummer is going to be on our podcast to talk about it. So yeah, I was aware of it. So it's pretty cool. But very excited. I can't wait to see the performance. And how long you been doing music?
Well, how I've been doing music, I've been playing the drums since I was 12. So over 25 years. This band has been in existence since 2017. We started as just a big band. I don't know if everybody knows what a big band is, but it is like Count Basie or Duke Ellington or Glenn Miller or something like that. And we were doing stock charts or like stuff that, famous band charts. And I just wanted something different. I knew I loved video game music. I remember Chemical Plant Zone from Sonic 2 being the first tune that we ever attempted to play. I had an arrangement for because I love that game and Masato Nakamura's music for that game.
You just made our producer Kevin's day, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Kevin.
Absolutely. As soon as you said Chemical Plant, it actually just started playing in my head.
Yeah, I'm hearing it too.
Exactly. And that's the point is we want to play music that people recognize. You may not even be a big gaming fan, but I feel like if you hear music from Mario, music from Zelda, music from Sonic, like that's going to activate that part of your brain. Like, oh yeah, I remember that. And so there's that nostalgia, but we take some liberties, we take the melodies and we do different things with them. So it's not, we also bring in a lot of other elements besides big band. So while it's like big band, it's not just jazz. There are elements of rock and metal and Latin music and all kinds of things that you're going to hear in this stuff. Yeah.
So I'm curious what kind of clientele you get at performances like this, because, in my mind, and maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but the people that go to see the Rockford Symphony Orchestra are not traditionally people in their 20s.
That's true,
or 30s, but and people that listen to big band aren't necessarily people in their 20s and 30s. You know what I mean? If it doesn't have Kendrick Lamar in it, it's not, they're not going to be interested. But you're going to have those people in their 30s and 40s that are familiar with these tunes that are going to want to come see that. But like, are you getting an older crowd as well, or is it? I can't call myself younger.
It depends on the venue. We just did a performance at MagFest, which I think you guys are all aware of, Music and Gaming Festival in Washington, D.C. And I mean, that was insane, man. You can find that video on YouTube of us playing the full performance, and the audience is crazy. And that's a generally younger audience. I would say probably everybody's under 50. And sometimes we play at jazz clubs where we're getting an older audience, and I'll tailor a set with video game music, but maybe a little less rockin' for the older folks. And then we'll do a set, we do 2 sets at Andy's Jazz Club every second Monday of the month in Chicago. And the second set is usually a little bit more high octane and like punchy. So we can reach people of all kinds, man. I think it's accessible music for everybody. There's something there for everyone.
Gotcha. Do you have a personal favorite that you like to play live?
We are playing with the symphony, the castle theme from Super Mario World.
Okay.
That is it might be one of my favorite pieces of video game music that Koji Kondo composed. And I think this version is going to be super cool because it's big band with a whole string orchestra.
Oh, I can't wait. I really can't wait to see this performance. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, again, April 5th, guys, check that out. What's the website again, Joel, that people can buy?
RockfordSymphonyOrchestra.com or .org. I should know this. But if you Google RSO at the arcade, it will come up.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to it, but we got some more gaming to talk about. So
yeah,
let's talk about the games we've been catching up on. What and obviously you're a gamer, Joel. What have you been playing?
We were talking about this a little bit beforehand. I just started playing Chrono Trigger on iOS for the first time.
That's so weird, dude. So am I.
Did you play it before? Had you played it before?
I had played it before, yes. I thought you meant this is the first time I played it on iOS.
But we're both playing it. And I had not been able to play it before because I don't know if you guys know this, but like you can't play it on the Switch.
Right.
And a physical copy of this game, like for DS or SNES, is going for so much money. So this is the first chance that I've been able to play it for $3. And I put in like 6 hours, man, yesterday. It's fantastic. I really love it. And I love the music. It's Nobuo Uematsu, who did the music for Final Fantasy, the early Final Fantasy games, and Yasunori Mitsuda, who did a bunch of the music for other games as well. And the music is fantastic, and the gameplay itself is fantastic. I'm a big fan of that game.
I think you're actually going to be glad that you played on iOS as opposed to playing on DS, because that port of DS is pretty rough. The pauses that it takes to get to the battle and stuff felt rough 15 years ago. I can't imagine.
It's a squashed version of the PS1.
Yeah, the PS1 was really bad. That was where it started. That port, it was like in the Anthology, Final Fantasy Anthology collection or something like that.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them, Anthology and I can't remember the other one, but how do you like it on? Because I have thoughts. I played the original, with a Super Nintendo controller. Actually, no, I think I played it in emulation on my laptop. Don't tell anybody. But how do you like playing it on? How do you find it? Because you've played RPGs before.
Sure, and I was just playing Final Fantasy VI in the last couple of months, which is also one of my favorite games. And I mean, the gameplay is fine. The control is okay. I would probably prefer to play with a controller,
Same.
but for $3, I can work around it.
Yeah, I'm the thing that I'm struggling with is you can choose for it to be active or wait in terms of the battle, and I did wait because like I got to get used to these controls, but I also want the battle speed at a good clip because RPGs can drag otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like even though I'm on wait, it's not waiting. I'm like, guys, hang on, let you know what I mean? Like the enemies are getting a couple attacks in before I'm getting one. So
I'm used to the wait times of like Final Fantasy VI or Pokemon or something where like I've got a second to like plan out my strategy, and that is not the case with this game.
The nice thing is that you can actually tap on the enemies that you want to switch your attack to, as opposed to cycling through them, which is a little bit more intuitive. And except for if you're holding it, because I'm playing it on iOS on a phone sideways, so it's kind of a reach. You know what I mean? Like to do that, but I can quickly tap it, but it works. So
Reach of those thumb extenders.
Right.
Yeah, right. So how far? You said 6 hours. It's been a minute.
So I just got to the end of time for the first time.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh, the music there is so good.
He only played for 6 hours because his phone started to die after that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. I was hooked, man. As soon as I started playing, I think if you've played any of those Square RPGs, it's just like sliding in. It's so easy to get the feel for it. It's just like Final Fantasy 6 or 7, old school.
And it's much more forgiving than a lot of the earlier Final Fantasy games. Like, the first battles are really leading you into it, and the story, dude, it gets so good. Oh, and the characters are just so fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And it's your first time, man. I wish I could go back and play this for the first time.
I'm loving it. And yeah, I can't wait to just keep playing.
And you're gonna meet more characters as well. There's some awesome freaking characters in this game. Like,
I can't wait.
Yeah. What else you been playing?
I've been playing Diddy Kong Racing DS.
I didn't know that was on DS.
I had not played it since you could rent games at a Blockbuster, since you could rent Nintendo 64 games.
That was my thing. That's how I played it.
Yeah. And I think it's honestly, as a Nintendo 64 kart racer, I think it's better than Mario Kart. I have more nostalgia for Mario Kart, but this game has some things that make it more replayable. And, you can be in the cart or an airplane or a boat. And I think it's a really nice experience. I dig it.
Zack is going to be really upset that he's not here because he very much agrees with you on that sentiment. He loves Diddy Kong Racing.
And great music from David Wise, who was one of the great rare composers who did music for Donkey Kong Country and Battletoads and a bunch of other rare titles.
Nice.
You gotta go to this guy. It's like he knows music or something.
Yeah, don't ask me about any of the other elements of gaming, but I do know about the music.
That's okay. I don't know anything about the elements of gaming. I just like to play them, so it's all good. Jake, what about you, man? What have you been catching up on?
Oh, not a lot, but I'm still muddling through Monster Hunter Wilds. Just kind of seeing what's in the game and what's around and whatever. I feel like I'm not leveling as fast as I should because I am taking the time to actually go through the areas and see what's there and see what kind of nonsense they've hidden in the levels and all that kind of stuff. Because I feel like in the beginning, because you're writing that thing and you're looking for stuff to pick up, you're not really actually looking at the scenery, and the scenery is beautiful. And I'm just trying to see if there's anything that's actually in the game that they've kind of like placed in certain areas. Because in some of the other Monster Hunter games, they've put little like secrets or callbacks or things in the levels that if you just kind of like look up at a certain angle, you'll see it and you go, oh, that's really cool. And so I was just trying to go through and see that and whatever, but I'm finally starting to reach like benchmarks that other people have reached that I'm blowing through because I think this game is ridiculously easy. But I'm finally getting up there. I'm finally getting
so
up there.
Easy. I'm a Monster Hunter guy. I know.
I believe they call it an aficionado.
I hate to say it, Scott, when you made that face and that voice, you sounded like a Temu version of smashing Sylvester Stallone and Dana Carvey together.
How in the world did you get that combination? But okay.
I don't know, but that's
See-
what your face just reminded me of. I was like, ooh.
And this is why people call our podcast outdated, because nobody
Yes.
knows who those are.
We're not turtly enough for the Turtle Club.
So we had talked about maybe doing game nights again.
Yes.
And I'm playing Monster Hunter Wilds by myself, and I see that there's a couple of people in our Discord servers and Facebook groups and whatever that also play Monster Hunters. And so I figure, hey, I'm gonna start up a Gaming Outsider clan on Monster Hunter Wilds. And so when people I'll put it on the Discords and stuff so people can join the clan and whatever, because it's crossplay. So whenever I'm online, people can see that I'm online, and then we'll be able to hunt together.
There you go. I would love to bring back game nights. I'm not playing Monster Hunter Wilds, but I would love to play some stuff. Even if we went back and played golf with friends, that game is stupid fun to sit around and play with like 8 or 10 people at a time, and it's a blast. So I would love to do that. Do you play online at all, Joel?
I have not.
No?
I mean, not since I was playing Call of Duty on my Xbox 360. So not in a while.
Okay. Do you have current consoles?
I have a Switch. Is that current? I don't know. I feel
That's
like
current?
it's current but not high powered. Like I should have a PlayStation 5 or something, but I don't yet.
Gotcha. Well, I was going to invite you, but it's hard. I mean, we can play on Switch. Switch has online too, so. But yeah, and speaking of, we're gonna be doing a revamp of our Discord server. We're gonna clean that up and make it a little bit more simpler, and hopefully start organizing some game nights on that as well. So keep an eye on that. I'll link that to everybody when we get there. So looking forward to that. As for me, there's a game that I played called Full Quiet. CB, I know you're familiar with this one because you have a physical copy of this game, don't you?
Yep, the NES one.
So this is one of those homebrew games that is designed. It's an 8-bit game that you can get digitally on Xbox and PlayStation and Switch and all that, but they also made a physical NES cart that actually works in the Nintendo, which is awesome. And played some of this game, and holy cow, this game is impressive. And I hate to say, for the Nintendo, but this game is really pushing that system to. I mean, I'm not playing it on the Nintendo, but I'm assuming that what I'm seeing on Xbox is also what it looks like on.
I'll tell you from experience, it's almost identical.
Okay.
It's just cleaned up on a flat screen.
And it's deceptively massive because it starts out just like a simple left to right 2D platformer shooter, right? But it turns out to be more of a gear gated. That's our word for Metroidvania, Joel. Just so you know, where you're going, you have to come back and backtrack and do all this stuff. And then there's these puzzles that involve Morse code, and it's a very tricky game. It is a long game. I think the final runtime I looked it up on how to beat is like 20 hours or something like that, which is kind of crazy for an NES game that's not Final Fantasy. You know what I mean? Like, it's seriously impressive, and not just in the scope of the game, but graphically and sound. What they've done on this
sprite movement.
The sprite movement is just stellar. It's like, why couldn't our games look this good that didn't have the Nintendo seal of approval on it when we were younger? You know what I mean? So, Full Quiet, and I think it's, I want to say it's like $7 or something.
Yeah, it's not expensive.
And is it on Switch? So you could probably play it, Joel. But it's not an easy game. I will say that it's not easy, but it is worth it just to see the TLC that they put into this game. So Full Quiet is what it's called, and it's really, really solid. Okay, with that, let's go ahead now and jump into the week's news. All right, we got some news topics to talk about, quite a few, actually. There is a trailer for Yooka-Laylee. We already knew this was happening. It's a remake of Yooka-Laylee coming out later this year. Also, it's weird to say this is a new trailer, but the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle got a release date for the PS5, which is going to be April 5th. Also, it sounds like the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake might actually be a reality. And lastly, Split Fiction looks like it could be getting a film adaptation in the near future. Joel, you're our guest. What story would you like to talk about, sir?
I want to talk about Yooka-Laylee.
Okay.
And I want to talk about the composers for that game, who are Grant Kirkhope, who did the music for the original Banjo-Kazooie games, and David Wise, who I mentioned for the Donkey Kong game, or Diddy Kong Racing. I love those guys. Those guys are like dream team composers for me. I will play any game that they have composed.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
So Grant Kirkhope also did GoldenEye, Perfect Dark for the N64. I mean, these guys are legends. So, and I love the Banjo-Kazooie kind of gameplay, 3D platformer thing. So that would be a game for me, man.
I've never played ukulele.
But aren't you a big Banjo fan? Don't you love Banjo-Kazooie?
I've also never played banjo. I think that's why I missed it.
It's you, Jake.
Jake is the one.
Now I have
Yeah.
the theme song stuck in my head. Yeah.
Ukulele. Didn't we make a trailer for this?
No, you're thinking of Yoku's Island Express.
It's two games that start with a Y-O, man. I get them mixed up.
So, Joel, you're not familiar, but are you familiar with the game Yoku's Island Express?
I'm not.
It is a Metroidvania pinball. So, like, you move your character around by flipping pinball, your character with pinball flippers, and it's outstanding. But years ago, we were contacted by the developer and asked if we wanted to be in the music video for this game. And so I got together with me and 4 of our team, recorded for probably like 2 hours in our basement trying to get it right. And they actually used our footage in the music video. So I'll have to share a link with you.
Yeah, please send it. I'd love to see it.
Nuts.
Yeah, that was the running joke. It's because it's all like in a different language, and it sounds like they're saying "yo potato nuts," and so that was the joke when we were doing it. But I'll share that with you. I just wanted to make sure we knew that reference. But yeah, I didn't play that one, and now that they're redoing it, I might give it another shot because I kind of miss those just like friendly little platformers. You know what I mean? Like that just make you feel good. So
I just like being able to hop in and play a couple of levels, and then like I'm not committed for 30 hours to a game, 40 hours, or like I feel like I have to be, that's what I love about Mario 64, for instance, is I can just hop in, I can play a couple of levels, I can get out. I love that kind of format.
Did you get the collection on Switch that has all the 3D Marios in it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
3D All Stars. Yeah, I did.
It's so good. I Mario Galaxy is a little rough to play on the Switch without using the Joy-Cons, but that game is just so good. I'm waiting for them to do Mario Galaxy 2 because that might be my favorite Mario game ever made. It's so good. All right, Jake, what story would you like to talk about, sir?
Oh, let's go with the Oblivion.
This is my surprise face that you want to talk about the Oblivion story.
Oh, leave me alone. It sounds like the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is making a comeback. The info was allegedly accidentally released by an employee at the video game support studios Virtuos. What? Did I miss that?
Virtuos.
Virtuos. I'm sorry, I'm not fancy. I don't know those words. The game is reportedly being redone in Unreal 5. Tweaks made to stamina, sneak, blocking, archery, hit reaction, and the HUD, the heads-up display. Rumors are saying that it could be released as early as next month. What tweaks needed to be done? Because that game was perfect.
I can't tell you because I played about an hour and a half of Oblivion. I got out of the jail. And then I was so confused by the system because you got to remember I didn't play Morrowind, I didn't play any of the other games. My first real experience into Elder Scrolls was Skyrim. That was where I started really getting into it.
So you were confused by Patrick Stewart.
Dude, that was awesome. No, I was confused by like I didn't understand how this kind of RPG worked. This was like a launch game on 360, wasn't it?
It was. I don't know if it was launched, but it was early.
It was very early. By the way, this rumor about it being released as early as next month, this is from one of those quote verified leakers. So I don't know how much stuff I do to that, but the rest of this stuff is supposed to be legit. I heard someone else say June, like it's supposed to be announced next month and then released in June. My question is, if this is a thing, this is a Bethesda game. So does that mean we're going to get it on Game Pass?
So extra jank?
Extra
with
jank.
A little jank and then extra jank with remade jank.
Oh, I feel if Bethesda does remakes, that's what it should be. Just like a little sprinkling of extra jank for you.
I mean, I kind of want it in there still. Like there's some of that, right?
Just randomly falling through the floor, warping through mountains. It's fun.
I really hope that this is remade with the downloadable content, the DLC, the add-ons, Shivering Isles. Just give me that again.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved that DLC. Oh, it was so great.
I keep hearing other podcasts talk about this game, and they're saying that there's so much goofy stuff in this game in terms of the AI, the things that you could get the characters to do, and I don't know what that means. Can you explain?
Like walking into walls for hours on end.
Oh, it's like those TikTok videos of the girl that pretends like she's an NPC.
That's where a lot of that comes from.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's like, follow me.
Yeah.
Her movements are crazy on those videos. Have you seen them?
Yes.
The guy that she's been working with and doing them, like he's even funnier. Like he'll sit there and like all of a sudden lean on a bike rack and he'll be walking sideways, and I'm like, that's really good use of like environment.
Their movements are crazy. Like when the girl is like looking at the camera and she's just kind of doing that like ambient moving, and the way she tilts her head with that blank expression on her
it's
face.
Unnerving.
It is unnerving. It looks like you're looking at an actual video game. Like there's been times where I'm like, is that a real person? Or is this because she doesn't look like a real person?
It's crossing that like super uncanny valley.
Right. Jake, I want to ask you, well, actually CB, you too, since you Jake, Joel, have you played it?
I have not.
Jake,
I have not.
Joel.
Joel. It's a J name.
What's that?
It's a J name.
It's a J name. It's the same J.
I mean, my middle name starts with a J. So
oh, great. That doesn't help. It like,
is it Jack?
No, it's James.
I played Skyrim, but I haven't played any of the other Elder Scrolls games.
Okay, so this would be a question for Jake and Kristen, because I obviously know how Skyrim works, even though I haven't finished it. I'm familiar with the mechanics. If I go back to Oblivion now, am I going to be a little bit more okay, or is it still going to be very confusing with those systems?
Well, supposedly they have made some tweaks to some of the stuff like stamina, sneak, and archery. So
no, but I mean just even like the stat. I just did not understand the stats at this time. I was 30 years old.
What was there not to understand? You leveled them
it
up.
was fairly simple.
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I felt so lost.
I mean, are you talking about Morrowind? Because Morrowind was a little bit more.
Morrowind was a little more janky.
Yeah.
But Morrowind, you could cheese the hell out of it. Be like, jump into a lake, find a wall, and just press swim, and just like hold the button, like literally like hold the button down or tape the button down. So you just swim into this wall for hours, and it's like you come back and you're like, oh, my athletics is 100% now.
Can't you do that in Oblivion too? Like just jump everywhere and your athletics increase?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll bet you they'll change
in
that.
Skyrim, they got rid of the athletics and acrobatic skills for other things, because who wants to train acrobatics by jumping everywhere? But you can go back and watch old videos of people like just hopping everywhere they go, because they were training acrobatics, because you did actually jump higher at a higher level of acrobatics. But who's randomly jumping everywhere? And then
dude, I am in Skyrim. I'm randomly just like crouching. I go everywhere. I walk all the way across the map crouching to get my sneak built up, because I want to be a sneaky archer. And
sneaky.
Yeah, so
super sneaky.
Well, it was the same thing with like acrobatics. You had to, or not acrobatics, athletics. You actually physically had to walk places. Mm-hmm. So it took fast travel. No fast travel. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a fast travel, but if you wanted that level, you had to actually run.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
which was like running through a city and clicking on every NPC to talk to them. So you'd be like, and my language is perfect.
Mm-hmm. It was Jackie's son says Oblivion used a stat to upgrade a stat. Easy enough. I put hundreds and hundreds of hours into it. Want this remake so bad.
It's gonna be solid.
I think it will be too. I mean, especially if it's on Game Pass. Like,
I want a Morrowind remake.
Well, if this does well,
I want a Daggerfall remake.
Daggerfall doesn't need a remake.
Shut up. Daggerfall totally needs a remake.
Yes, I want to spend 4 hours in a continuous, seamless dungeon, but I don't know where the exit is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will check it out. Although I got to go back and play my Skyrim run some more at some point. I need to get back into that. I keep putting it off, but new games keep coming out, man. It's rough.
The saddest thing is though, is if they remake Morrowind, they're going to add a quest marker, and it's going to hurt me. It's going to hurt me in ways.
There's
that
no
I've never
quest
been-
marker in Oblivion?
There's-
No.
No,
In
you have to. You
Morrowind.
have in Morrowind. Yeah, you have to go to your journal and read the clues, and then go, "Oh, it's north of this city." So then you go to that city, and then you go north until you find it.
Is that in Oblivion as well, or is there a quest
No,
marker in Oblivion?
there's
No,
quest
Oblivion
markers.
has quest markers.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm good. I can't do it without quest markers, man.
No, all the games also have a spell called clairvoyancy, where as you cast it, it just gives you a trail to follow, so you go to your objective.
Paul Hine from the chat says, that's insane. Daggerfall is the RPG we all want, but none of us deserve.
You're absolutely right.
Now, in terms of size, I think they were saying Skyrim is like 7 point something miles, like cubic miles for the map. And Daggerfall is like 32.
Wow.
So yeah,
Daggerfall
It's-
is massive.
it is huge.
Wow.
If there's a video on YouTube that you can go to that shows like the size of maps and,
Oh,
like, in
yeah.
games, and it's just like Far Cry, like Skyrim, and all of a sudden it just zooms way out and it's like Daggerfall, and I'm like, yeah.
Was
Yep.
that on PC only?
Yeah.
Yeah. Daggerfall
So-
was PC. Morrowind was the first one to make the jump to console.
And that was only on original Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching a friend play that when I was younger, but I didn't know much about it. So speaking of the chat, I got to share another one here. Jackie, going back to Jackie-san, he said, did you all see the Game Informer news? Thank you for reminding me. I actually saw this earlier today and I forgot to mention it.
I read the article.
Okay, so maybe you can give some insight because GameInformer.com is up right now.
So not only is GameInformer.com up, they are back. So after a few months of kind of toiling around, Gunzilla Games bought the rights to Game Informer, and on top of that, they brought back the entire team that was there during the closing.
That's awesome. So everybody that got let
Fantastic.
go is now back.
Yep. So they're back. They're back up. They're running production. They're already cranking out reviews again. This is just like one of those like feel good moments because Game Informer for like me, I know for like anybody who's been around like 30 years, like,
Yeah.
dude, it's a very heartwarming thing to see this come back.
Yeah. Well, especially because when the site shut down, they just got rid of everything. Like there was no way nothing was archived. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I believe they got the rights to all the back stuff too.
Okay. So this is the one you get like when you have a subscription to GameStop, right?
Yeah, except now you do. Now I don't have to worry about GameStop going like, would you like a subscription to Game Informer?
Right. So they're gonna. I'm assuming this is not going to be a physical release kind of thing, like a magazine. It's just going to be the online thing, but it's not associated with GameStop anymore.
Nope, not associated with GameStop, and I do believe they are looking into doing a physical print version. So,
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
so it's they bought the web. Jackie's on. They bought the website, YouTube site, Twitter, Bluesy accounts. They're all back
Blue
and asked to
sky.
go
Blue
to
sky.
Blue sky.
Blue sky. But there's no Y. There's no. So it's
It's like
Bluesy.
you just
Bluesy. It's Bluesy. I Ron Burgundy did.
They were doing that for Joel, even though it's big band. It's blues adjacent.
I play blues in Chicago, man. I love it. Yeah, it's for me.
So I'm really happy to see this happen because I don't have to worry about Jason Schreier writing a whole like book about it.
It would still make for an interesting story. So
It would be. I'm
Nice.
very, very happy for them. I'm glad to see something out of all these layoffs and everything get resurrected.
Mhm.
So
Were you there when Game Informer went down? I was. I remember.
I was there.
you got to
when
do the
games-
Bane thing. Put your mask on.
Well, the sad thing is he's making a Warhammer reference.
See, I don't know that, but
But
I
yes.
got to give a shout out. If you guys haven't heard, we are publishing news articles on thegamingoutsiders.com right now. I wanted to talk about a couple of these stories. One of them being this game called How to Escape Lost Submarine. This is an article put together by Mark Szymanski from the writing team. Guys, you need to check this out. This is a game we need to do. Have you ever played Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes?
Yes.
Yep.
Joel, if you're not familiar with this game, we played it in VR, where one person is in VR and in front of them they have a bomb, and it's a bomb that's got all these switches and gadgets and stuff on all the sides of it, and everybody that's not in the VR helmet has an instruction manual. We actually had a physical PDF of it, and then we had it also like on a computer, and the people with the PDF have to get instructions from the person looking at the bomb to see, like, read these numbers and go to this page in the book and follow these instructions and do all these things to figure out how to disarm the bomb. And you have a certain amount of time before the bomb explodes. It's a fantastic game. I highly recommend it. But they've brought this concept to a new game that's going to be on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC later this year, where it's one of those kind of games, but you're playing it on a console, and you're going to have like a separate app that's going to have all this information to solve puzzles and that kind of thing. I just think that concept is awesome. So
That sounds great.
also, Nintendo partnered with the Seattle Mariners. Apparently, this is the first time this has ever happened. So the Seattle Mariners are actually getting that Nintendo logo, like on the cuff of the jerseys or whatever, on the sleeve of the jerseys.
Didn't Ken Griffey Jr. play for the Mariners?
Yes, he did.
Are you guys sports guys? Where was Nintendo then when the Ken Griffey Jr. baseball games were coming out?
Here's the funny thing. I will tell you exactly where they are, because this is not Nintendo's first thing with a baseball team.
Mm-hmm. Well, they tried to buy the Mariners at one point, didn't they?
Nope. Their very first time was with the Hashin Tigers in 2005.
Oh, okay.
So there is a limited edition GameCube console that is branded with the Hashin Tigers jersey and logo for the entire GameCube.
Nice. How many of those do you own?
None, because they're really expensive. They're like $1,300, and they come with a jersey too.
That news story came from Sean Coates from our team. So shout out to those guys, as well as Paul Hine, who's in the chat. Those guys are really killing it with the news over on thegamingoutsider.com. Please check it out, guys. Would appreciate it. That's the news. We got one more big news title to talk about, and that is that we have an official date for R2V2 2025. Jacob and I actually went over to Cliff Breakers today, where we held it last year, signed some paperwork, put down a payment. It's a little difficult to write that many zeros, I'm not going to lie. But the date is going to be Saturday, October 11th in 2025. You'll obviously hear us talk about it in the future, but please mark your calendars now. It is going to be just a one-day event. We do have one band booked for the after party. We're going to have vendors again. We're actually looking to expand and get more things for people to do besides just spend money on games. There's going to be a lot of activities and things we've been planning. So make sure.
Take pictures with Scott in a Speedo, things like that.
Yes, because I wear a Speedo to R2V2. Wasn't that a thing you guys did? Because we used to have a store on our website where we were selling like 3D printed stuff.
Oh, secret picture.
The secret picture.
And somebody said they could buy a picture of me in a bathing suit signed by me or something for like $500 or something.
It was $99.99, sir.
$99.99. Yeah.
500. That's pretty expensive, Scott.
Yeah, we never sold one. So
he is Scott Clark.
So anyway, stay tuned to our socials for more information about Eventbrite and how to get your tickets early. Tickets are going to be much cheaper this year. We really want to expand it and get more people at this thing. So please mark your calendars, spread the word, tell your friends. It is going to be awesome, and we hope to see all of you there. With that, let's go ahead now and jump into the new games that we've been playing. All right, before CB and I gush about one of the games we're going to talk about, we got some new releases coming up. Going to list them really quickly here. Dollhouse Behind the Broken Mirror coming to PS5, Xbox, and PC March 28th. Rain World The Watcher coming to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC March 28th. Post Trauma, PS5, Xbox, Series S and X, PC March 31st. Merchant 64, yes, 64, that 64 that you're thinking about, coming to PC on March 31st. Vagrus, The Riven Realms, coming to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and that's it on March 31st. Sultan's Game, coming to PC, March 31st. Koira, I believe that is from Don't Nod, coming to PS5, PC, April 1st. Croc, Legend of the Gabos, remastered. Who asked for that? Anybody?
Croc fans.
Croc
No.
fans.
Nobody did.
Everybody thinks that's just a goofy looking shoe now. Like nobody even thinks that. Like PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC April 2nd. Elroy and the Aliens, a really cool looking point and click adventure coming to PC April 2nd. And lastly, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered gets a PC port on April 3rd. Joel, any of these stand out to you, sir?
I can't believe that somebody wants to put out a new game with Nintendo 64 graphics. I'm in, man.
Yeah, you like the box.
Can I get
hands?
a cartridge? Can I get a cartridge version of this, like the Nintendo game you're playing, or
Don't
the one that
tempt.
has a Nintendo release?
Don't give
Don't-
limited run games any ideas. They will do it.
I will buy it. I don't even.
They
care
did that
what
one for 40 Winks.
That's true.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, but people check out that trailer. Seriously, it looks like it belongs on the
Oh.
64.
Oh,
It's the 64 graphics. It looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Lots
Yeah.
of polygons.
And so you're a merchant and you travel around to different towns and you like sell stuff here and try to sell it for a profit. That's what I understand this game is about.
Well, now you're really sold Jake on it. He loves.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
I'm-
That was already
I'm
that was already the game that I was gonna pick. So
I'm sorry, Jake. I took your game.
no, it's fine. I just want the CRT to give my eyes cancer.
You're not going to live forever, man. Come on.
Right. I
Yeah.
Just burn those corneas out.
We
Right.
we all played the Virtual Boy. I think we're gonna be fine.
Still play the Virtual Boy. Leave me alone.
CB, which of these stand out to you?
you
Actually,
can't say
Dollhouse.
Merchant 64. You have to say something.
Oh,
else.
Dollhouse, man.
Dollhouse behind the broken mirror. That does look pretty creepy. I don't really.
Yeah, I like the creepiness.
Yeah.
You can have the creep. I don't want the creep. I want the nice shiny Quest 64 looking game.
Hey man, you keep it. I'll go with the creeping.
For me, this is a week where I'm glad that there's nothing I'm super interested in because I have plenty to play this week. I was going to
play
mention
the
this.
shoes.
Huh?
You don't want to play the shoe game?
No, I've never played Croc. That was a PlayStation game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was the other like forgettable character? Ty, the Tasmanian tiger.
Oh no,
Wasn't there-
yeah. Ty from the GameCube.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just another one that was like, why are we still trying to like pump out mascots? We've already got all the mascots.
Hey,
we
dude,
need.
you're excited about the Gex remake, so I don't want to hear you talk.
Oh, there's also Rayman.
I don't know what happened to Rayman, but
He-
Rayman is not
away.
the same Rayman that we grew up with.
If I had to pick one, though, I'd probably say Last of Us, but I'm not going to play it on PC. I never played the remastered version of that, but I would like to revisit that game.
I can't support it, man. It didn't need a remaster.
Yeah, I'm not going to support it. I'm just saying if I had to pick one, that's what I'd pick. But I'm going to be playing catch up this week for sure.
You're not going to be playing catch up. I know what game you're going to be playing.
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed Shadows.
that's true. True story.
Yes.
Come on, Scott, tell us about it.
Oh, you want to talk about Assassin's Creed first?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Get out of the way.
I was gonna save the best for last.
Oh, I
week.
was
Okay,
gonna say
fine,
let's
fine.
ease in with the turd first.
Okay, fine. We'll
Oh
go with-
my God.
Breakout.
You think this game is a turd? Okay, we're gonna fight.
No, I didn't.
no,
Okay, between the two, which
No.
do you find better?
no, I
mean,
think he's calling Breakout bad.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Scott, tell us
Yes.
about Breakout.
So Breakout, and I'm gonna preface this by saying,
Breakout Beyond, sir.
Breakout Beyond.
The new one,
Yes.
not to be confused with the first one from the 80s.
Correct. But it's the same premise. I want
Just
to preface this by saying we personally know the composer of the music and sound for this game. That is Grant, who does the music for our podcast. I didn't know this. I posted the trailer when it first got announced. And I was like, man, this sure sounds like Stemage music. And lo and behold, he's like, yeah, that's me. So it's kind of cool. But
The
so
music in
Breakout,
this game was terrible.
don't say that.
It is not a terrible game. It's hard.
It
It's hard
is
as
very difficult. So
balls.
if you're familiar with Breakout, it's I think I played Breakout originally on the Atari 2600, which is a brick breaker game. You got a little paddle that moves back and forth. The ball bounces. You bounce the ball back and try to clear all the bricks.
Oh, Pong.
No, Pong has you
No.
going against your friend. It's the same thing. Idea of a paddle, but you're just trying to get it
No,
past.
Jake,
you're
have you never
thinking-
played Pong?
My bad.
You're thinking Arkanoid.
Arkanoid did something similar. Yes. So Breakout Beyond takes literally flips the script of Breakout, and instead of it being a horizontal game, it's now vertical, much like Shatter, which Steve and I both played on PC back in the day. Why are you looking at me funky?
No,
I mean,
it
vertical,
takes it
not-
from vertical to
Yeah.
horizontal.
Oh, sorry, I'm using the wrong way. It goes from vertical up and down to horizontal, left and right. So that first off is a huge change. The other change with this is that in those older games, your goal was to clear every stage, right? It was to eliminate every single brick to move on to the next stage. What they've done now is they've more or less made a finish line behind the bricks, that so you don't have to clear everything. You just have to get the ball through far enough to cross the goal line, and then you pass a level and move on to the next one. So, CB, step in if I'm missing anything.
No, you're doing good so far.
Okay. So the game also adds a couple of because most of the game is played just by moving up and down, as you would imagine. But there's also I actually discovered this. There's no instructions for it. But if you hold the RB button down on the controller, I'm playing on Xbox, it slows down. It basically does slow motion, so that when the ball comes back, you have a little bit more time. It also has the ability to do like a really fast, like it doesn't speed up the game, but it speeds up your paddle.
Yeah.
So that if the ball is going up to the top, you can quickly get it up there by holding the right trigger while you're doing it. On top of that, they've got power-ups built in there. So there are certain bricks that you break that will...
Which power have you come across so far?
I came across the one that basically explodes a section, like just like almost like a bomb went off, like right in the middle of the bricks. I got one that put a force field behind my paddle that has like 5 hits or something on it, which is super handy. And then I got one that lets you shoot lasers from your paddle.
Okay, so you haven't hit multi-ball yet.
No.
You want to talk about insanity.
Yes. And because like Chris mentioned, this game is tough. It is really difficult.
It's tough for a stupid reason.
Okay, go ahead.
It's difficult because it's difficult because this is a game that's meant to be played with a roto dial.
Right. Like think of the old paddles on the Atari 2600.
Yep. Just like that, Jake.
Sorry.
Turn it left to right. Whereas
For our listeners, I was moving my hands up and down in a rotary motion.
So with this, you have to use the joystick.
Mm-hmm.
And joysticks are not the best for precision with a game like this.
Wait, you have to use the joystick as a rotary?
No, just
You
back
just
and
go
forth.
up and...
But the problem is, since a joystick is like multi-directional, when you tried to go left to right,
steering wheel.
Paul Hein recommends using the steering wheel.
Dude, I'm actually thinking about that now. Like, dude, that might not be a bad idea.
I didn't consider that. I want to play this game with a steering wheel now. Like seriously. I was talking to Grant about it, and he said because he's playing on a PC, and he says it feels like it's much more designed for that because you can use a mouse. You have a lot more precision that way, right? But he said that you can hook up a mouse to an Xbox, and I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can hook up a mouse and a keyboard.
So I kind of want to play this with a mouse. Like, I want somebody to make a paddle, a rotary dial paddle, like they did it on Nintendo with the Arkanoid.
One does exist
for Xbox.
Yes, but you have to get it with the adaptive controller.
And I was talking to Chris Owens about that today. I was like, I wonder if I could get an adaptive controller and hook up or just something like that to it. But that seems like a lot of work.
I know someone who has an adaptive controller.
Oh, we may have to try this.
So I found that one when I was in Texas. So I have an adaptive controller.
All right. But we may have to do that.
But the problem is when you go left to right, since like the joystick is omnidirectional.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to go left and it slips up a little bit, like all of a sudden you're just like, it'll slow down and then speed back up.
Yeah.
So it's very twitchy.
Right.
Whereas I wish I could just remap it for the D-pad.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say. Because you can't even use the D-pad, which is like, why not let that be an option? Because at least then you don't have the kickback.
Like the D-pad would be fine, or instead of like the right and left bumper, let me use the right and left bumper.
That's actually a really good idea. Like I would just rather go up and down with that. But then how would you speed it up?
The same
triggers.
Triggers.
Well, or how would you slow it down?
Same way
Left
with
trigger,
the other
right
trigger.
trigger.
I feel like you're not hearing me.
If
If
you're
you're using the bumpers
Yeah.
to move left and right,
then you can use the left trigger or the
triggers
right
Okay.
to speed
trigger.
up and slow
Okay.
down.
Okay. I'm with you. I wish that you
Learn-
could remap this to whatever
Learn to
way.
use your fingers better, Scott.
There's one other aspect that we haven't mentioned yet, which is the curve.
The dumb aspect.
Well, the dumb aspect. You don't like this?
Oh, dude, the curve is dumb.
So if you remember those games, you could affect the speed and trajectory of the ball by how you kind of finesse the ball away from the bumper, right? To like give it a different angle. Well, in this one, if you do that, it actually like puts spin on the ball and makes it curve as it goes in
Okay.
there. So it's not
You're not 100% right.
okay.
So, because if you just line it up and you use the edges, you can create angles. It's if you're moving the paddle as you hit, it creates backspin.
Right.
So
That's
it's
what he
not
said.
like but here's the thing, if you just go and stop and it hits it, it doesn't create a curve.
Oh, okay. So
So
trick
you
is
actually have to
stop.
continuously move the paddle as you're hitting it to create the backspin.
But I can't figure out how in the world to do that accurately. Like there's just no way to I'm not figuring out a
You
way
have
to
to-
gauge that.
You have to look at the angles and be there ahead of time.
Breakout Beyond wanted.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like just curving bullets. Which, if you can figure out how to do the curve, like you can cheese the levels really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, like, as you're trying to create that curve, 9 times out of 10, you go right past the ball, and it's just like, and I lost the ball again.
Yeah.
But
So
the multi-ball, dude. So the first level you run into the multi-ball, there's 3 multi-ball bricks.
mhm.
I accidentally like somehow curved it and I hit the first one, which cascaded into the second one. The second one then bounced for a second, cascaded into the third. So there's 9 balls on the screen.
And like when it does stuff like that, it makes crazy explosions and just this
Yeah.
cacophony of insanity. Man, that's a
And
great band name.
If you actually get
Cacophony.
20 if you get 25 hits in a row, the ball goes golden.
Uh-huh.
And so the bricks that like take 2 hits to break up,
Yeah.
it just flies right through them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
This game is so hard. I was not able to pass the 3rd board. Like,
Lame.
and there are what, like 72 levels or something like
Yep.
that. So I can't imagine. I felt like I was able to play the 4th board, even though I didn't pass the 3rd, and that's where the power ups started coming in. I feel like the power ups are going to make it a little bit easier.
no.
No, they make it harder.
No, they make it harder. And it's a unique concept. I will say, like, you can also slow the ball down as it's coming to you, but it burns your score down.
Right.
So like if you're like, I'm gonna cheese this, it's like, no, your score's gonna suck now.
I mean, at some point, like, I just want to get through the game, and I'll worry about beating high scores
Dude,
later.
it just gets more intense because I'm on the 6th board.
Yeah.
And it just gets more intense.
It's tough, and
Because
and
the levels actually get longer, by the way.
I would imagine, yeah.
Oh, and you haven't mentioned the one thing that irritates you the most.
Oh, it's a
Did you have
timer.
the levels are timed.
So and if it's not like it's game over if you get a timer. If the timer goes out, like it starts adding more bricks, like Tetris style.
Yeah, which again, when you get to the more insane levels where there's like, oh, we're just gonna randomly keep putting double or triple hit bricks in here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, now we're just gonna add more. That timer's gonna kill you real quick.
Well, plus, like if you don't destroy it, because the screen, the bricks are like coming towards your side of the screen, and if you miss some of them, and it gets far enough that you can actually hit that with your paddle, your initial thought is, oh, this is great. I can just get rid of that brick and get it out of the way with my paddle. No, if it does that, it causes your paddle to stun, and you can't move it for a second. So like you're not going to be able to go up. It's just, this is a tough game, and I was surprised at how tough it was because I've played a lot of the other Atari like recharge games, like Yar's Revenge Charged and Missile Command Recharged and all that kind of stuff. And those games were super fun, not insanely challenging. Like you'd beat them in like an hour and a half or something. I don't know if I'm going to get halfway through this game, guys.
You're gonna straight struggle bus.
Yeah. So, very difficult game, like way more difficult than the others, but I still want to keep playing to see the insanity that you've experienced. So, this is again Breakout Beyond. We're playing it on Xbox, but it is also available on PlayStation, Switch.
I will recommend for those of you that like Dark Souls style Atari games.
There you go. And it's also available on the Atari VCS. So there you
Cool.
go.
I'm not going to boot that up.
It's developed by Choice Provisions, published by Atari, obviously, and was provided to us by Uber Strategist. If you want to check it out, it is $14.99 on all of those places, PC included as well. CB is very excited
Now it is time.
because now we can talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yes.
I actually met with CB last night. We stopped at Old Chicago for some beers, and we must have talked about Assassin's Creed for like a half an hour before.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of this conversation already, and I apologize, but we're going to rehash some of it. Guys, Assassin's Creed Shadows
It's so good.
is really good.
Just made you more prepared for the show tonight, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we were doing. We were.
Oh, dude, it's so not hot garbage.
It's not hot. No, it's really good. So CB and I had this conversation, and I think we both agree that there's kind of been two styles of Assassin's Creed games up to this point. Three, if you count the 2D ones that were like on Xbox.
That we don't talk about those.
Okay. But you've got the old school Assassin's Creed where you've got targets and you have to gain information on them and then go take out your target silently, escape wherever, and then you move on. And then you have the newer ones post Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla.
Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and Mirage.
Well, Mirage kind of took a step back a little bit to
It did,
the
but
old
it
school
still
format.
falls more in line with the more modern
Right.
games.
So the modern ones are more combat focused. Like there was some sneak, but it was a lot more about fighting enemies and upgrading your gear and finding a new sword to replace and all this kind of good stuff. Shadows, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, feels like they found a good balance between both of those gameplay styles.
It feels like they took the Assassin's Creed 2 era games
Mm-hmm.
and then smashed them directly into Origins
Right.
and like just kind of somehow found like this perfect meld.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a good chunk of sneaky, but also a lot of stabby.
Yes, and the combat, when you do have to get into combat, at least with Naue, the female character, I have played very little with Yasuke, the male character. He was introduced at the beginning, and I haven't gotten far enough into the game to be able to play as him again yet. But Naue clearly is like the assassin, like ninja style character. She's very quick. She does flippy flips, and she can stab from above and all that. But she does get into combat, and when you get into combat, it's not just mash to attack. You have to look at the way that the enemy attacks you. If it's white, you can parry it. If it's blue, you have to parry it multiple times. If it's red, it's an
get out of the way.
unblockable. You got to dodge out of the way. But when you do that, if you time it correctly, it doesn't stagger the enemy, but it makes them vulnerable to attacks. So they take more damage when you riposte. Is that the right word? When you you counter attack.
Yes.
And it works really well. I mean, part of me misses the old school formula of like all the enemies just stand around you in a circle and you wait to
And you
attack
just
them.
counter stab.
Counter stab. That was awesome. But they made a really cool, engaging way to do it, and I'm digging that quite a bit. I gotta talk also about. There's so much to talk about this game.
Before you move away from that part of the combat,
Yeah,
I will say this is probably one of this is probably the first time in an Assassin's Creed game where the action, like when you're actually sword striking, it feels like there's weight to it.
yes, I will agree with
Like
that.
when you parry these, like you notice like your character kind of staggers a bit. The amount of detail that they've put into the combat, because it's not like Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 where you had like the same 4 moves.
Right? Yeah.
Your character will like sometimes like they're attacking low, like you'll counter low. Granted, you're still fighting, like you're still using the same button combinations, but they seem to have mixed in all these extra
Mhm.
like fluid movements that are just gorgeous to watch.
Yes. Yeah. The combat feels good. I will say the one aspect of it that I know you like this and I don't. They figured out a way to do the leveling system in this game that is going to work very well for some people. And what I mean by that is, you know how in typical games, your character levels up, and whatever level you are, you see enemies on the map and you see what level they are. And if they're a whole lot higher than you should not engage that battle. And if they're around your level, you're okay. So what they've done in this game is they've used that as a way to gatekeep, and for good reason, to gatekeep some of the outside areas. They want you to keep you in this region of the map. So my character is like level 13 right now, and the outer regions of my area are like level 40 or something like that. So you're clearly not going to go do that. And then what they do with all of the characters inside the region that you're working on is those characters level up with you. So they are never with either plus or minus 2 levels than you, at least from what I've experienced so far.
Yeah, it's a self-balancing game.
Right, which is good because it keeps the game always
It
at
keeps
your
you
level.
honest.
Yeah, it keeps you
Yeah.
honest, but if you play Assassin's Creed the way that I do, which is clear every viewpoint on the map, go find every weapon, get every question mark, do all this stuff so that I can go wreak havoc in the main missions, I can't do that anymore. So I feel like I have less incentive to go clear the map like I did in previous games.
Yes and no,
Mhm.
because I've noticed by keeping everything at the same level as you actually learn to like use the combat play style.
That's a really good point, CB, actually, yeah. So like you're
So
kind of forced to stay in tune
it's
with the
adapt or
way.
die.
Yeah, that's a really good way
And
to look at it.
it's really good because like in the beginning of the game, I was like, I'm not going to sit here and parry and riposte all this stuff. But now I've just kind of fallen into this rhythm where I'm just doing it subconsciously, and I'm already like, okay, parry, stab, parry, stab, and I'm like, I'm in the beginning, like it was hard for me to take on like more than 2 guys at once in this game
Mhm.
because this is also like one of the first times like you'll be actively fighting somebody and people around you will start swarming in and just keep attacking you from behind.
Right, like you can't just do the everybody circle around me thing like you could in older Assassin's Creed
No, like
games.
they gang up on you and they will just keep coming. Whereas this, like it feels almost like the Batman combat tactics
Ooh.
in
See, this is the part where CB really tries to get Zack to play the game.
Zack likes Assassin's Creed, but he's been kind of remiss since like 3.
Right.
So, but like it does feel like the combat because you'll notice like the guys coming up behind you and you'll notice the trigger to like parry and riposte. And I'm almost wondering with some of the mini games, you notice how things start to disappear over time.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm wondering if that parry and riposte isn't going to start disappearing later
Oh, that's
on.
interesting. What he's referring to is there are these sections on the map where you do meditation and you sit down and they basically give you 4 QTE events, like all in like one at the top, one at the right, one at the bottom, one at the left. And when they first show up, they're visible. You see this prompt that kind of makes a big circle, gets down to a small circle. You have to time it for whatever button it pops up. And it does the same 4 buttons, but then as you do them accurately, they start to fade away so that eventually you have to remember what the buttons are and know the timing without the visual cue. And the idea is that you are meditating and you are finding that inner peace.
Dude, it's relaxing.
It is almost relaxing when you do
And
that.
Joel, I want to point this out. The music and the score for this game is beautiful.
Yes.
I'm gonna check it out, guys. I'm gonna check out at least some gameplay online so I can get a feel for it.
Well-
Make sure to watch some of the meditation videos
Mhm.
Okay.
because like the background music they use with like the like traditional like meditation bell like bowl. Dude, the audio design for it is great.
Amazing.
Yeah. The other thing I got 2 more big things I want to talk about. I'm sorry if I'm monopolizing the conversation, but I'm so stoked about this game. Is the look of this game. And I know whenever we talk about games of this caliber, we're constantly talking about oh, it just graphically looks incredible and stuff. And this game does look great. It doesn't, I'm not going to say realism. I mean, if it would feel realistic, it still feels realistic, but the weather effects in this game are mind blowing to me. And I know what we're saying. Oh, wait, we've seen weather effects in games before. This game has literal seasons. Like time will pass, and it will do this tiny little cutscene where it shows that the seasons are changing, and all of a sudden you're in winter, and the entire scenery, the entire map looks completely different. Is now covered in snow,
and your movement changes.
Like you're trudging through the snow, but okay, I have never played a game where I was in a rainstorm and I felt like I was in a rainstorm. Like I cannot describe it. Obviously, I'm not having wind blowing in my face, and it's not shooting water at me. You know what I mean? But
I'm just gonna go into your house with like a little fan and just start blowing you and spraying you with a mist.
A little spray bottle and just.
I can't explain it, guys. There's something about the wind effects and the rain effects in here that just make me feel like I am there. I'm not going to go as far to say immersive, but
dude, it's the audio design.
It might be the audio as well. Yeah.
The audio design with the visual cue is great.
And not only that, but you see a storm rolling in. You know how like when we
watch it like come down, like a storm cloud come down the mountain, and you're just like,
oh, it's about to rain. You know what I mean? So like,
dude, this game is so pretty.
So you guys remember like when they first pitched us Breath of the Wild, and those guys were like, hey, you see that tower over there in the distance? You can go there. Now it's, hey, you see that storm cloud in the distance? That's on its way here. And it just kind of slowly rolls in, and it doesn't like just instantly start raining. It's like it starts to get dark, and then the wind picks up, and then like there's just so much attention to detail to the weather effects in this game. And I know it sounds like a weird thing to rally behind and get super excited about, but I am just so stoked about the visuals of this game.
I got a few things to say about this game. First off, we have two very similar games too. You have Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ghost of Tsushima is still the better looking game visually.
Okay.
But I will say I think Assassin's Creed Shadows ties everything together better.
Okay.
Visually, like it's still got this typical Ubisoft like face animations are kind of like they could use a little work.
The teeth always look weird in Ubisoft.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the French company, just can't understand like teeth work. I actually just switched over. I do not like the English audio.
Oh, really? I have not used the Japanese audio. You're saying I should switch?
It's better.
Oh, really? Okay.
Japanese Japanese audio, English subtitles.
I may have to do that.
Just because like the voices, I'm like, I'm like, you're Japanese, but you sound like you are a Midwestern white person.
Well, or a Midwestern white person.
Well, it's
doing
like
something that would get them in trouble.
Hi,
if they did it.
we're here looking for the samurai.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
you don't look. I'm like, and when it comes to these games, like especially like historical timepieces, stuff like that breaks the immersion for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, like that's why I loved Kurosawa mode in Ghost of Tsushima.
Right. Do it all black and white except for the blood.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
Have you come across a Ronin yet?
No.
Oh my word. That is so you remember in didn't play Valhalla.
No.
I was gonna say, is it the mercenaries and Odyssey?
They are the mercenaries.
Oh, okay.
So like I'm just walking down the dock and it's like, you put down your sword, and all of a sudden I'm being attacked, and I'm like, you're not a guard.
Mm-hmm.
I wound up killing this thing, and it's like it takes you to the objective menu and a whole new circle appears.
Oh, so it's like now you're hunted like Nemesis style.
Yep. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
That's cool.
So I will say, like, there's very much like Valhalla, where it's like, oh, there's multiple branching story paths.
Yeah,
It's filling up quickly.
I wanted to touch on the story next because they do the story very interestingly in here. So right off the bat, I want to say I know there was a lot of people that went into this game being announced and eventually released that are already hating on the game for cultural reasons, and I'm telling you, the way that Yasuke is introduced in this game is
It's
awesome.
brilliant.
It's in my opinion, people don't have anything to complain about. This is not a.
I almost want to say it's almost as good as the Assassin's Creed 3 cold open.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like it is not what I expected for this character.
Yeah, like there's a twist, and I'm just like, this is getting really good.
Almost to the point that I feel like there has to be another twist coming that I haven't experienced yet. I assume you haven't yet either, CB?
No.
So
but I have had theories on that, and like you and I have already kind of touched on it.
Well,
I'm not speaking about it here.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I will say that I don't feel like this is spoiling it, but Naue and Yasuke they don't know each other at the beginning of this game. And they are on opposite sides of a line.
Let's get this out in the open. Naue is one faction. Yasuke is another faction.
Right. So
we're not going to tell you who is who.
Right. And we haven't seen them come together yet as far as we are in the game, but I am really intrigued to see how that happens. So the beginning of the story feels like you were playing a Naue game. Like Naue is the main character. And it's told very interestingly because she suffers a great loss at the beginning of the game. And then you learn the story kind of backwards, like you're going back in time to see her relationship with this character that she lost in flashbacks, but you're playing those flashbacks, which is awesome. And this is how you're also
playing flashbacks in a flashback. Like, no,
I didn't mean to say that.
No, I'm just saying because Assassin's Creed is like, you're going back in time through the DNA or whatever. So you're
I see what you're saying.
While you're flashbacking,
like Preception instead of Inception. So, but because she's on this, I don't even want to call it a revenge tale because you have the choice of it being a revenge tale or it being trying to get something back that was taken from you tale, and you have that's one of the choices you have. And so either way, you were taking out these 11 people underneath, how do you pronounce it? Oda Nobunaga?
Oda Nobunaga.
Oda Nobunaga, who's like the main villain in this game, and basically his lieutenants, which is where it comes back to the old school Assassin's Creed. You are taking out these
dude, okay, I got chills during that one scene. Like already, like this is very early in the game. But the scene with Naue and the other person and the crowd.
Other person and the crowd. I don't know
when somebody dies.
Oh yeah. Like
but they're all lined up, and
yes, I was like, oh, there it is.
And like I'm like, dude, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. I'm like, because that is such a cool cinematic shot.
That and what they're wearing is also really freaking rad.
Like the traditional like samurai, but they all have different masks, and I'm like,
so
this is so cool.
See, that makes me feel like I'm watching the cinematic trailer for the first Assassin's Creed, where he kills the guy on the podium and then he disappears into the group of monks, or whatever coming out of such a good trailer.
I will say that stuff I've not seen in this game yet, where like you disappear, like it's not happening. Basically, when you finish an assassination, they do the flash thing, like you're gonna have. Remember how in the old Assassin's Creed games you would have like a conversation with the guy right before you kill him? Like it's almost like you're in this other world. And then Ezio does his Domine and Pace or whatever.
In nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
He does that and then like and then closes his eyes. So like in this game, when you kill one of your targets, it does this flash and I'm like, oh, they're gonna do it. And then you just have a conversation with him while he's alive and everybody's around, and then it's done. But what I will say is really cool is
should we stop her from killing that guy, or just let him finish the conversation?
Right.
Just let him go.
Well, they don't have a
just
full-on
play out.
conversation. It's at least in one of the assassinations, you kill the main guy and then the battle's over. So, but that brings me to my last point that I'll make, because I know we've talked about this for a long time, is that each assassination so far has been completely different in terms of gameplay. One of them kind of happens at the very beginning of the story. You can't miss it. Another one, my second one, was a storm the castle mission. Straight up, me and this band of other people on my side are storming a castle to take out one of the targets, which I was a little disappointed in because I'm an assassin, right? I'm supposed to be assassinating people, not just going with an army. So I was a little worried. But then the next one, the Golden Teppo, is that what it's called?
Yep, the
CV?
Teppo.
Turns out that this whole assassination mission is an infiltration mission where I have to get a disguise and I have to learn tea etiquette.
Like for a traditional Japanese tea ceremony.
So I'm learning Japanese culture stuff about the things you're supposed to do for proper etiquette, and if you mess it up, you're gonna have a harder time getting to your target.
Game over.
And then it turns into like a murder mystery kind of thing, where all the people that are at this tea ceremony with you have to choose which one is your target, because you don't know their face because they were wearing masks at the beginning of the game.
And if you choose the wrong target, it creates additional missions.
Right. So like, it's fascinating, and that's only two. Well, three, because the one, like I said, automatically. But I've got like 7 or 8 more to go, and I just can't wait to see what they do for each one. It's really cool, and I love that they brought back the investigation aspect of Assassin's Creed. Like, even in the first one, you had to do it, which, going back and playing that game now, it feels very tedious because you're doing the same thing over and over again. We have to sit on a bench and listen to a conversation. We have to, I can't remember what the other ones were, but there were like 3 things you just had to do over and over again to learn where your target was.
Eavesdropping, stealing, and infiltration.
There you go. So you had to do those same things over and over again. In this one, they do this really cool thing where you go talk to people and you pick up clues, and then you get the clues and it'll say like, this person that you're looking for is north of this city, but he's on the east side of this or whatever. They give you like to try to triangulate your position, and then you go to your map and you send out scouts somewhere. You put a spot on the map that matches those clues they give you, and then you have them scout that area, and then it says, boom, you got it right. Now it gives you a circle to go search within, and then you go in there and you search within that circle and you find your target. So it's doing it without giving you a waypoint, which I like, and I was worried that I wasn't going to like that, but they do it where there's enough intuition that you have to do in the game, as well as doing it different ways with every assassination so far.
It's definitely a very cleaned up version of the last 3 games.
Yes.
They've kind of perfected the formula. If they went back and remade like 1 and 2 in this style, I would be completely fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm loving the aspect of it. I have a feeling I know how they're gonna tie, because like Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla all have like something that brings together like the assassins, like one thing that has joined the Brotherhood or the League over time. I'm already getting a feeling I know what it's gonna be, because you're essentially a ninja,
right?
So I'm loving that aspect of it. Just the storytelling has been so good so far.
It is. There's a lot of exposition, I will say, like a lot of exposition.
It's very movie-esque.
Yeah.
But I also love the fact that they've kept in that traditional style of, we're going to introduce like actual prominent historical figures.
Yeah.
Like Nobunaga is a very famous figure from this time period. But when I was playing earlier, like Hattori Hanzo comes in.
I was just going to say that.
And I'm just like, I went nuts. And I'm like, Hattori Hanzo.
I mean, I only know that from Kill Bill. So I was geeking out when I heard that name too.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I'm trying to rush through because Scott's had something happen in his game that hasn't happened in mine yet. But we also took a different path.
Yeah, which is, again, cool. You can kind of, I mean, within that original region, you can go in any direction you want to.
CB went revenge route.
Oh, hands
Yeah.
down.
Yes,
I
yeah,
am
I went get the item back route.
Yeah, of course.
Oh
you do.
no, it's kill 'em all.
Yeah.
But again, I like
Kilimanjaro.
the Kurosawa like storytelling. It's like, "Oh, you killed my master. I'm on a quest for revenge."
hmm
So
I'm looking very forward to seeing how this story starts to tie together in the way that
but
I'm
it's not only
expecting it
that. Like,
to.
he killed a different member of like the organization. Like we've been killing them out of different orders. Like I killed the Teppo person first. He killed them second.
hmm
So you're not super locked into like which path you're gonna take, which I love. And we've actually had different dialogue options
Yes.
due to this. So I was just like, oh well, like when you talk to this person about this, he's like, that didn't happen for me.
But it's
So
also not done in a way that like a heavy rain aspect where you want to go back and replay it and do the other dialogue choices. Like it's
Yeah.
not done in that way. It's just like this is my experience and that's what I'm sticking with.
yes, it's a very beautiful piece of
Yeah.
storytelling, and I cannot wait to continue with it because you'll probably hear me gush about this for a couple weeks.
Yeah, probably me as well. I'm already sad that next week is not spring break and I'm not gonna be able to play this as much. So
I'm gonna finish it before Scott will.
well, obviously that's there's no way that's not gonna happen. But so that is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Clearly CB and I are
Play this game. It
Yeah.
is fantastic.
I'm not going to go as far and say that if you really love the old formula, this is going to be your answer. It still has a lot of trappings of the newer.
one. But for those who didn't like Origins, Odyssey, or Valhalla, this feels more in tune with the original 4 games.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just it's great.
Yeah, it is. It is a good game. Highly recommend it. So, okay, we got a couple more reviews for you guys to listen to before we move on. Jacob actually sat down with Mark and David to talk about a couple games they've been reviewing. So we're going to play those for you guys right now.
All right, through the power of movie magic, I am Jacob Gunnarsson, and I am here with Mark Szymanski. Mark,
Hello.
you've been reviewing. Oh, the game just slipped away from me. Here it is.
Karma, the Dark World.
And you're playing
Yeah.
this on the PS5?
Yes, that is correct.
What now? I watched the trailer to this, and it looks horrendous. It's a horror game. And I was sitting in a dark room watching it, and the very first line was, "You might want to play this with the lights on." And so I turned the lights on. But what can you tell me about this? What are you doing in this game other than being scared?
Well, you're in the 1984, which is relevant because it's basically a take on the classic novel 1984. So you live in some European country. Obviously, all the language is in English, but it's clearly like a East Germany-esque type of country where the Thought Bureau controls everything you see and everything you do and what you're supposed to say and think. And the agents of this Thought Bureau have televisions for heads because they are basically dehumanized and void of personality. They are just there to make sure that you are living the way that they tell you to live.
Oh my, that's
Totalitarian.
right? Oh,
And long story short, kind of, because it's hard to be succinct when it comes to this story, but you are an agent that still has his normal head, thankfully, and you wake up and you're told that you need to find your memories. So you go back in time to an investigation that you did on this employee of the company who stole something to feed his family, and now you're trying to find out what he did, if he's working with somebody, I guess. There's mystery involved, and then it just goes way deeper and way darker and way more tense. And the environment they give you, the music that they give you, the graphics, it just all soaks you in and makes you get goosebumps right at the right moments. And there's scenes where you're running from these weird monsters that have to be seen to believe.
the game did look terrifying, but it looked
It had its
interesting.
moments, without a doubt. It was very interesting. a couple of very creepy, very scary moments around a very gripping story. Loved every minute of it. Reminded me of the old David Lynch movies from the 90s, or Inception, because you do have to do like a brain dive to investigate what their memories and try to solve your mystery as well.
Right.
Crazy.
So how well does this game play?
It plays very easily. So it's more like an interactive movie with
Okay.
every now and then you'll have a button push. There are puzzles that you have to solve. There are a couple of sequences where you have to time your movements right, or you're running from that monster I told you about, and you have to avoid obstacles. So there's some gameplay in it, but it is largely an interactive, which may
Gotcha.
not be the best idea for some, but I loved it. It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it looked like it would be entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
The trailer definitely sold me a little bit on it, but I'm not a huge horror fan, I guess. But I mean, definitely not something that I would want to play.
This one's more horror elements.
Yeah.
There's scary parts, without a doubt. And like I said, the music itself will just give you goosebumps because they use it perfectly. The story is what will grip you and will keep you going to the next scene and to the next scene, and trying to find out what happened. Where are your memories? What do they actually say about your life? And who are you? It's cool.
Gotcha. Well, you said button pushes and maybe some puzzles. So how hard are these puzzles? Are you like
Challenging, but not to the point where after you solve them, you're smacking yourself in the head going, well, that was kind of stupid of me. Or also not saying that's the dumbest puzzle of all time, because I've had those experiences as well. Not in this game. They are perfectly challenging enough to where you'll say, oh, that's kind of neat. Or because the game plays so well with the what's reality, what is this dream, what is a memory, what is a fake memory, that you're not sure if some of the clues that you're given are actually clues or if it's just the game being the game. And so
it's-
when you solve the puzzle and you're like, that was an actual clue. I thought they were just messing with me again.
oh, so there's some subterfuge going on to
Yes.
make you think different things while you're playing it.
Yes.
Awesome. So you're gonna recommend this for some of our listeners?
Oh, highly. I told Scott when I was done with it, I've played 6 new games in 2025. This one is currently at the top of that list. It's highly recommended. I love the story. I love the music, the effort that they put into it. The graphics were smooth, no lag. The loading was acceptable. Everything about this game checked the boxes for me.
Are you writing a review on it?
I've already finished with it, but as of while we're recording this, it's still embargoed, so we can't release it until the 27th when the game releases.
Gotcha. So you guys will have to go on and read Mark's review to figure out what score he gave it.
That's
All
right.
That was from developer Pollard Studios LLC, published by Wired Productions and Gamera Games, and brought to you by Neo Hype. All right. Thank you, Mark. We'll talk to you later.
Sure will. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And moving on, we have David Newman. Here, you're reviewing On Your Tail for us.
Yeah. Yep. I got a switch code for On Your Tail.
Gotcha. I in the trailer, it looked like this was a mystery solving game.
Yeah. So Mark actually had posted a news article for us, like from the press release, and I don't know if it was his saying or if it was how they touted it, but essentially it was Animal Crossing meets Duck Detective. And I had played Duck Detective on Zack's recommendation, and I really enjoyed it. So I was like, all right, give me something that's kind of like that. And so yeah, I requested it.
Gotcha. So it looks like you travel around an island and solve things for people by looking through a glass.
Yeah. So not quite an island. So okay, so you play as Diana, who essentially tries to take a break from her like everyday life. She's like a student at university. This is based in Italy, and you get to this place called Borgo Marina, that her grandma has been saying has been one of the best places she's ever been to. Well, it's kind of an interesting way to get there. There's a storm the night that she gets there, and she ends up crashing her Vespa, which is like an electric scooter. And Yeah, it turns out that there was a theft that night at the place that she was taken into. So she decides that she wants to solve the mystery, essentially.
And she's got this looking glass that shows her what things are supposed to be or where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, so it's called a chrono lens, and essentially it's a magnifying glass that also like has a clock function, and you're kind of on the nose with that. That it is, you can see where it's at in the present time, and then if you put the lens over it, it shows where it was before something had happened. So if a hat falls off of a hat rack, you'll see the hat just in reality, and then you put the chrono lens and you'll see the hat on the rack.
Oh, interesting. So like, is there like a main story that's supposed to be solved, or are you just solving little things as you kind of live, or what's going on?
So it's solving little things as they go. The main crux of it, though, is finding out who the thief is, because he actually used this thunderstorm, it seems like, to rob a bunch of different places. And actually was the cause of your accident. I don't know if it was by purpose, but she fell because seeing the thief right in front of him.
Oh, brought forth his own downfall by getting in the way that night.
I guess so.
So there's a bunch of other little mini games. You can go fishing and play arcade games in this.
Yeah, I haven't gotten too far into it. I've only played a few hours, but I have played a little marble racing game. But what really drew me was the detective stuff. And I think the detective stuff is actually pretty interesting because you get a certain number of clues that you need to find, and then you actually do this like 3D overlooking of diorama of like setting the scene of like how it actually happened. Which I actually think is very interesting, very cool of how they did it. So the game is very, very interesting, and I like to call it good, but the Switch version is not very good right now. I've already, like I said, only been a few hours in. I've had multiple crashes. It takes it loads in when you're just like running to different places. Like you could run from one end of the map to the other, and it takes about 2 minutes, but about 30 seconds of that is multiple like loading in the next area. And sometimes you'll even run to an area that hasn't even rendered, even how simple it really is. So I don't know. I know it's also on Steam, and I feel like I've seen things that say the Steam version runs better than the Switch, because I've seen multiple people say they've had these issues with the Switch version. So I'm very curious to see how it is on the Steam, because I would really like to play this when it's technically better.
Right, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But other than that, the normal gameplay of it is good.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for a nice little detective game, take a little bit of thought into things. Now, granted, you can mess up and you would get the chance to do it again, but there is, like, I have actually messed up basically every single one at least once. So like it's not that easy to do it. But they have also the availability to have jokers that give you hints and stuff like that, to essentially get more get a better opportunity to do it on the first try. But gameplay wise, I think it's pretty solid.
Well, all right, good. I mean, if the Steam version is better, I guess you'll recommend it on Steam then.
Yeah. I think it's $30. I think I said I've only played about a few hours, but it sounds like it's at least a 10 to 12 hour game. I feel like a 10 to 12 hour game for $30 is pretty reasonable, especially for what you're getting with this.
All right, thank you, David. That was On Your Tail, developer Memorable Games, publisher Humble Games, and given to us by Vicarious PR. All right, thank you, David. We will talk to you later.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Before we move on to our topic of the week, I got to give a shout out to some new members we have over in our Facebook group, which again can be found at facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. David Namesau, Josh Endicott, Dan Jody Sechrist, Cody Smith, Anthony Sechrist, Jesse Ross, David Wakalek, and Lindsay Schroeder. Welcome to the group. Hope you're enjoying the community over there. Also, be sure to check out our Discord server. We got a link in the notes of this very episode. And if you get a chance, do us a favor, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us get the word out about the show. And lastly, our website, thegamingoutsider.com. There you can find all of our episodes, and you can find all of our news articles and all of our written reviews as well, which includes Kevin's review of Hoover Heroes, Jacob's review of Planet Smith, Rel's review of Overthrown, as well as Yasha, Legends of the Demon Blade, Mark's review of The Phantom, and then my reviews of Odinfall and Spilled and Full Quiet, all released this past week as well. Really would appreciate if you guys check those out. We put a lot of time and energy into providing written content, and we could really use your clicks. So again, thegamingoutsider.com. With that, let's go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic. Since Joel is here, this seemed like a great time to, actually let him talk on an episode, since CB and I just kind of stole the show there for a bit. But talk about video game music played by bands, much like Blueshift Big Band. Listeners of the show will know that I'm a big fan of bands that cover video game tunes. We even had artists perform live at R2V2 this past October, and we're going to be doing that again this coming R2V2. Speaking of Joel, just saying, you're looking for something to do on October 11th,
Yeah, we're talking about it.
Let's talk more for sure. So you're obviously an expert in the field, man. So what is it about this quote unquote genre of music that attracts you to listen to it, create it, and do you listen to other artists, or is this just a thing you do on your own?
Yeah, I definitely listen to other artists. Who do I listen to? Well, the first band that got me into VGM covers was The Advantage. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this band. I don't think that they're still a band, but their albums are still available.
Solid.
They would just do NES tunes, and I don't know if you guys know about like the NES sound chips, but it's basically 2 square waves, a triangle wave, and a white noise channel, which is easily replicatable by 2 guitarists, a bass player, and a drummer.
Okay.
So like I liked how they made the game sound just like the music sound like a modern adaptation, like live instruments doing exactly what's on the game.
I've got their version of the Batman theme going through my head right now.
Yes, it's so good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of was my entry point. Like, oh, bands can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think that there's a range between bands that just do straight covers exactly of what's on the game, and I think we're somewhere in the middle where we take the melodies, but we add more material depending on the style of the tune. And then there are bands, it seems like, who take concepts from a game. I'm thinking of like the Proto Men. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but they take like things from Mega Man and write songs about that world.
They actually do like lyrics,
Right, exactly. But like kind of based on Mega Man and that kind of thing. Not melodies from the game. So I think there's so many bands that you could check out, and depending on what genres you like, what kind of music you're into, if you want lyrics or instrumentals. So am I an expert? I guess I'm an expert because I'm doing it, but I don't feel like an expert sometimes.
Yeah, so like you said, Advantage first got you into this, where you first had that realization that this was a thing.
That you could do that, like a band could do that.
Right. Like I always wondered, even when I was younger, like how does that work in terms of copyright? Like, can you cover a song without permission? I don't even know like where you would start with that.
It's tricky. The Blueshift Big Band is so lucky to work with IM8-Bit, who handles all of our licensing issues. So we come to them with a song list, and they say, okay, we can get you licensing for these tunes, but maybe not that one. And it usually depends on if a song has been released on a soundtrack in the United States, it's pretty easy to get licensing, but if it hasn't, it gets tougher.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we've been sticking, just because of who I am and like the kind of, obviously I'm talking about Nintendo 64 and your entire episode. So like we've got a ton of N64 tunes that we do, and a lot of those are licensable. But not everything.
Without giving me a dollar figure, like how expensive is that to get licensing? Is it like redonkulous?
In cheeseburgers, how expensive does that get?
So typically it's mechanical licensing. This is like music business stuff that I don't know if you guys are interested in, but mechanical licensing. So if I want to go and cover anybody's song that they've already put out, I can do that. I pay a compulsory license. I think it's still 9 cents per copy per song. So you could do that math. Like if you wanted 5,000 copies and there are 10 songs on that record and they're all covers, 9 cents for each of those times the amount of albums that you want to do.
Interesting. Doesn't that change though in the streaming world where you're not necessarily selling full albums anymore?
Yes, you can buy digital licensing too, and I'm not sure what the rates on those are.
Okay.
Because I don't have to take care of that for these, which is
Gotcha.
nice.
You're just a talent.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still the guy doing all the emails and the phone calls and stuff like that, but I don't have to deal with the licensing, so that's pretty nice for me.
Nice. What about you guys? Like, do you guys listen to cover music, or I don't even know. I do, but
Yeah. But
what?
well, one of the bands I will not mention just because it is not kid friendly.
Okay. Do I know them?
You know, it's great. Starbomb.
Okay, I'm not familiar with them.
They make video game themed music that is not kid friendly.
I really like how we were not going to talk about it, and then we are talking about
You know what? We're gonna talk about it.
The children are not looking this up right now.
But I mean, for the most part, like when it comes to video game music, I'm very selective on like what I'll listen to.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm a very all over the place kind of like listen to music type of person. I mean, Scott, you've listened to my like arcade mix when I'm sitting there like playing.
Yeah, CB straight up does the thing from what's that Ernest Cline book?
It's the Raid the Arcade mix.
Raid the Arcade mix, where
But
he
then
like,
I
has...
added a bunch of additional stuff to it.
Right.
I mean, granted, I could sit there and listen to like the Dr. Mario theme forever. It's one of my favorite like NES pieces of music.
That Game Genie covered that song at our show last year. That was pretty.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
So it's. I mean, unfortunately, there's not a lot of punk video game music.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, like
why do you guys think that is? Can I ask you, why do you think that there's not a lot of like there's a ton of metal bands?
Mhm.
And I think that the
punk.
virtuosity of metal and like being able to play the guitar in that way lends itself to playing video game tunes. But why do you think there's not like punk video game music?
Does the genre? I mean, do they not? I'm trying to think of like how it would sound in my head right now. I don't know what it would sound like.
It's very erratic music, so like probably putting something together for like a cutscene would be insanely hard.
Well, I can't remember.
Cutty.
There's an artist that does covers recently. I discovered him on TikTok, and his name is escaping me right now. I actually have a couple of his tracks on some of my like summer jam playlists, and he does like, you know, if Green Day covered this song, and he'll do like a very popular song.
I know who you're talking about,
and like I want him to do one. Like just give me one so I can see what it sounds like.
Yeah, like I feel very underrepresented in the music scene for video games, but at the same time, like I will find pieces of music. It sounds really dumb, but when I was playing through Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I had like that kind of made me fall in love with sea shanties. So I have like multiple sea shanties.
You made me listen to an entire playlist of sea shanties from that on the way up to Milwaukee.
3 hours long.
Yeah, like that's all we listened to.
But
that sounds terrible.
And this is way before the whole "there once was a ship that went to," that was like way before that.
But when I would get bored with that, I would actually put on a Master and Commander soundtrack because that is a fantastic soundtrack for classical music.
I love that scene where they were playing video games on the boat right before the storm hit.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Like for me, like I'm not as super drawn into most video game soundtracks, so I kind of supplement my own.
Okay.
Just because, again, like the styles of music that I listen to, like I absolutely adore the like everything Final Fantasy has done, like Square Enix and working designs, like most JRPGs do fantastic classical style music.
Right. Well, you're talking about the actual soundtrack, though, right? We're talking about bands that have covered those tunes,
Yeah,
or artists that have covered
but
those
see,
tunes.
that's the problem is like I've never really thought about finding stuff
So,
like that.
so you're more like, if you're going to listen, you'd rather go listen to the original, or you'd rather go listen to.
Or find something, because like this up until like meeting like Grant and everything, I didn't realize like that it was an entire subgenre of music. So it's
Right.
something that I'm still discovering.
Mhm.
Like I outside of like Blueshift, like I really didn't know a lot about that. So I'm like, cool, like this is something else. Like I actually added it to my Spotify playlist.
Mhm.
So I'm just like stuff like that. Like I'm trying to find more stuff. So yeah, like I get excited about that because I'm like, cool, it's just something new that I can listen to.
Well, we're going to make some recommendations for you here in just a second, man. So we'll give you some lists.
Sweet.
So on my side, Scott, you might not remember this, but a few years ago, I was privileged enough. We got a request to do the video game music for Sarah. CD came out of the Europe.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But it was
Mhm.
electronic, and so I actually listen to that every now and then because I still have it, because I love the like Daft
Synth?
Punk electronic
Yeah.
synth, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, and then it's all video game music, and he takes music and lines and stuff from in the game and then puts it into his music, and so you're kind of hit with all these nostalgia feelings and different things while the music is just up and down all the way through. And I really dig that kind of stuff, and I kind of listen to some of it. I couldn't tell you any. I don't listen to bands, I listen to songs, and
Yes.
so I will go through and be like, oh, I wonder if they have a song for this, and then I'll listen to the song, but I couldn't tell you the band at all.
Gotcha.
So
I can.
What was
I
the name
can.
of that one again, Jake?
Sare, it's Sare.
I can
You
confirm
said
that
Daft Punk, and I'm just like, yes.
after hanging out with Jake a couple summers ago, pretty much 8 hours a day, and just him putting music on. He just is like, whatever is on, as long as there's music playing. I could play something super stupid that nobody else on the planet likes, and he's just like, that's fine. Like, he's just very easygoing when it comes to music. So let's get into it. What are some artists that you'd recommend for our listeners to check out? Joel, I got to start with you because I imagine you've got way bigger
I've
list
got
than we
a
do.
bunch. You know who I really love right now, and kind of coming out of that Advantage vein, is Bit Brigade. You guys know
Mhm.
Bit Brigade?
Yep.
I feel like they're kind of at the top of the VGM bands. And if your listeners don't know, there's 4 guys who play music, and the 5th band member is the guy on stage speed running whatever level or game that they're playing the music to. So they've done full playthroughs of Mega Man 2, Castlevania, Super Mario World, F-Zero. It's a cool show. They've got plenty of concert videos on YouTube that you can check out, or their albums. I like those guys, man. I think that's a cool approach to the music.
And
It's
they've got
like
it
more
like they've got it timed down to where like they switch the song when it switches in the game.
and they switched the level complete music, the level introduction music, like whatever there is, they're playing it at the same time. It's amazing. It's really cool.
That's awesome. Any others?
Yeah. Dom Palambi's Game Night is pretty cool. Aren't you, Scott? You like Balatro? That's the card game.
I love Bellagio.
Am I
yes.
saying that right? I don't know even. He's done a couple of covers of that game. You should check out his band. They're based on the East Coast. He's a drummer. He's a bud. The Super Marcato brothers are bros from Minneapolis who play some kind of like rock. I think they try to stay pretty true to the game, but with real instruments and synthesizers. I like that
Okay.
approach quite a bit. They don't
Cool.
take a lot of chances, or I don't want to say they don't take a lot of chances. They don't leave a ton of space for improvisation. They like pretty much stick to the tracks. And then there's bands like 8-Bit Big Band, which I don't know if there's anybody like bigger in the video game music cover world. We do something a little different than they do, but they're certainly popular and worth checking out.
8-Bit
And
Big
then-
Band.
Have you? 8-Bit Big Band is like, yeah, they're huge. And then I want to shout out a couple of Chicago bands if I could.
Absolutely.
No.
Arc Impulse is Bobby Shields' band. They do a bunch of different styles, but it's Bobby playing drums, They've got a guitar player and a keyboard player and a fantastic multimedia show. Love those guys.
I
And
can
then there's-
confirm we saw them live, and they're amazing. And they're headlining at R2V2. Just saying.
What a great promo. And then, do you guys know Kingdom of Zeal? They're a
Yes.
Chrono Trigger fusion band from
We saw them
Chicago.
open for Arc Impulse.
Andrew Lawrence is the keyboard player and leader of that band, and those guys are awesome. So yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of great bands in
That was the
Chicago
other way
doing
around.
VGM.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought Arc Impulse.
You're
opened
right.
For...
You're right. Arc Impulse opened for Kingdom of Zeal. That was my bad.
This guy has dyslexia. It's okay.
Yeah,
But
it's it's
world,
totally KO.
there's so many. There are metal bands. You mentioned Metroid Metal. There's Power Glove. I saw them play at Magfest. There are hip hop artists who are like combining video game samples with original lyrics, so it's like video game adjacent, even if it's not a straight cover. I think there's so many, like whatever your genre is. There's a bluegrass band.
Yeah.
I can't remember them, the name of that band, but they do like cool bluegrass covers of VGM tunes. I think whatever your style is or your genre that you want to get into, there's a VGM band, except maybe punk, that you can check out.
Except maybe fun.
Just
I mean,
left out in the
there's
cold again, man.
There's so many like I mean, besides the thing that I'm doing with the Rockford Symphony Orchestra, you can see VGM orchestra concerts all over the place. And to your point earlier, Scott, I think that's a great way to get younger people in the door, and that's what orchestras are looking for. They're trying to get the 20 and 30-year-olds and their kids in the door instead of the 70 or 80-year-olds.
Gotcha. What about you, Jake? Any recommendations?
Unfortunately, probably not.
That's okay. CB, how about you?
For other bands outside of music, I got a ton, but
No.
Trying to
Bands. that-
Video game
know.
music.
I know. I said outside of video game music, I have a ton. Inside video game music, yeah, dude, I'm clueless. Like this is
Okay.
an education for me. So that's why I'm
All
just
right.
like I'm like writing all these down. I'm just like, yes.
Okay, well, I want you to
more,
write one
please.
down for me. I want you to write down Vomitron. If you're not familiar with these guys, they do outstanding work. So precise, it's incredible. The first track is Contra, and it's really great that actually no, I take that back. That's the second track because the first track is them trying to turn on an NES, and you hear them blowing into the cartridge and then swearing at the NES, and then they go right into Contra, and it's great. Vomitron's great. Arm Cannon is another one I highly recommend. That is a friend of Grant's, actually, Danimal. They do that song that you were talking about earlier, Joel, the castle theme from Super Mario World. If you haven't heard it, do yourself a favor and go listen to Arm Cannon's version of that song. It is amazing. It is the bass in the background, the dun 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 dun. They're playing that on double octaves on a piano, like just hammering it, and it sounds so good. I can't wait to hear your version of it though.
I think you should hear our version with a big band and 50 string players. I think it's going to be pretty rocking.
I can't wait. I'm so stoked. Let's see who else. Obviously, I have to mention Stemage, Metroid Metal. That dude not only does amazing video game stuff, he's just killing it in the video game market. I talked about Breakout Beyond, but you may not know this, Joel, but he also did all the sound for the recent pinball table based on James Cameron's Avatar that just released.
Nice.
Like, he did all of that. Like, he's getting up in the world. I feel like I know a celebrity. It's kind of cool.
Did he use music from the movie or did he adapt music, or did he write original music like in the style? Do you know?
Original, as far as I know. Like, I don't think they had the licensing for the score.
Interesting.
And then not just the music, but the sounds. Like, all the sound
Wow.
on that table is him too. So it's just very, very impressive what he's done.
There's a picture of him in one of my reference books for video game stuff.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Like my Super Nintendo compendium, in the very back, there's a Metroid Metal reference, and there's a picture
Nice.
of Grant playing a guitar. So
That's cool.
Amazing.
He is such a talented guitarist too. It's just impressive to watch. You took mine as well. The Advantage. That's actually the first time I discovered that was a thing. Also, I got the chance to see Do a Barrel Roll when I was in Minneapolis. Those guys are worth checking out. Those are most of the big ones I've got. So, but Vomitron is very near the top. I think the album is No Nest for the Wicked. which is a great title, and the cover art also looks really good. Just saying.
Nice.
But that's what we thought. That's what we had recommendations. Let's go to the community. Actually, our producer just piped in here. He says, Kevin says, I'm a big fan of groups or individuals performing video game covers in their own individual styles. Slow piano sonic doesn't sound like it would be a thing, but it's become one of my favorites. That's a really good point, too. I should have brought that up. There is a whole almost genre of music of what do you call it? Like the relaxing style of music.
Like lo-fi piano.
Lo-fi, yeah.
Lo-fi, yeah.
Like you haven't relaxed until you heard the water theme from Mario 64 in a lo-fi version, because that song is already lo-fi, and then you do a lo-fi version of that, and it's really good.
You might be hearing Dire Docs at this concert.
Oh, dude, you just keep selling me, man. Like, you've made the sale. Stop selling it.
All right.
We're gonna need a list of the games that you're gonna be playing music from. So we
do you want them? Do you want it right now? I've got it in my head.
Are you allowed to?
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, they're going to be in the program, so I don't know that it's like a secret.
I just don't want to get you in trouble.
Oh no, I'll tell you. Okay, so Super Mario 64. We're playing a couple from that, including Dire Docs. Final Fantasy 6. How about I just stick to games and not tracks? There'll leave some surprise.
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect.
Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yes.
We're premiering a piece from Star Fox 64 that was commissioned for this concert.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Banjo Kazooie.
Yes. Sorry.
And and Super Mario World, obviously, with the castle theme. So yeah, man.
That's
and then
awesome.
whatever games, I don't know. I mean, that's just what we're playing, and that doesn't include what the RSO is going to be playing on their set. So,
and they're doing all video game music as well.
They are. So they're going to open each set with a couple of pieces, and then bring us on, and we play a couple by ourselves, and then we play a couple with them. Intermission, rinse and repeat.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Jake, you want to read the next comment?
Oh, where are we at here? Aaron Hughes on Discord writes, oh, there's so many greats. Of course, the legendary Grant Henry at Stemage and Metroid Metal, the adventures of Dwayne and Brando, my second favorite band behind Grant, the Black Mages, Nintendo Core Duo, Family Jewels, and Mariachi Entertainment System is great if you're into something different that just covers. That's all that's coming to me now, but there's so many more greats I know I'm missing. Man, I love when artists throw their own flair on game tracks. I do occasionally dabble in big bands, and I like when Blueshift is doing. I was vibing while typing this up.
Thanks.
That's awesome. CB, you want to do the next one?
All right. Tim Paulin writes in, remember the gal at MGC that sang Zelda tunes? I think she was a professional opera singer.
I vaguely remember that.
I also remember the Harp Twins.
The Harp Twins. And they're not just exclusively video games. They do stuff all over the place with that. But speaking of Zelda, I can't remember the name of the band, but I saw a metal band in Minneapolis that did nothing but Zelda music. But it was like they did the lyrics and they just kind of did variations of the theme. But it was a female lead singer and it was awesome. It's escaping me. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
But by the way, Scott, I looked at RSO's thing. They're going to be doing some music from Halo and Uncharted.
Nice.
Oh man,
are they going to have Gregorian chant people?
Dude, if I'm going to be so mad if they do.
That would be so good.
We'll both find out on that Saturday. I don't know.
All right, and our last comment comes from Sean Coates, who says, 2 of my favorite game artists that immediately come to mind are Brent Black, also known as Brentalfloss, who writes his own humorous lyrics. My next favorite would be Smooth McGroove, who does a cappella arrangements. His cover of Final Fantasy X's Wandering Flame is beautiful. I totally forgot about Smooth McGroove. If you guys, he's the guy that does a cappella, but he does each track individually and then kind of mashes them all together. He actually just released a track yesterday, the Lost Woods theme from Ocarina of Time. You know, that super haunting. And he actually does percussion by snapping his fingers off beats. It's just totally incredible what he's doing. And he's got his cat in his videos too, Charo, who, by the way, is not doing well. I just found out. Kind of bummer. He's been like a staple with Smooth McGrew, but All right. Well, that is our topic. Thank you for everybody that wrote in some comments. Next week's topic, please stay tuned on the social media outlets. We're going to be talking about art in video games and how important it is to us. We're going to have another special guest next week who actually has done some art in video games. So we're looking forward to chatting with him. But that is going to do it for this episode of the Gaming Outsider. Joel, thank you so much for being our guest, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, where can our listeners follow you in your work?
You can follow the Blueshift Big Band on Instagram or Facebook at Blueshift Big Band. We are on Spotify and Apple Music and wherever you stream things. We've got 3 albums out with I Am 8-Bit. They're called Joystick Jazz. The Blueshift Big Band plays iconic video game hits. Our most recent album, we take on a bunch of Mario music from different Mario games. I think that's worth your time. We have an entire set from MagFest that's available on YouTube that's really cool and worth a watch.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are free and in Rockford, Illinois on Saturday, April 5th, come see the show with the RSO. I think it's going to be really hip.
I will be there with bells on. Now, I know that
With bells on? Is
With bells?
this another?
that's the phrase, man.
Yeah, that's an old school phrase. I like it.
Yeah.
You
I
guys
always...
just call it school phrases. You don't need to add the old school.
So let me ask you this, Joel, because obviously we can stream this stuff, but how can people actually support you guys? Outside of coming to these live performances, what other ways can we support you? So that you actually get rewarded for all this hard work you're doing. Like, can we buy physical albums?
You can buy physical albums from I Am 8-Bit, iam8bit.com. They've got a bunch of our records, but they also have a bunch of other people's records and other game records too. That's worth your time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can check out our Bandcamp if you're into some non-video game stuff. We've got a couple albums on there, including a 7-inch 45 RPM record we did with a couple of Chicago blues artists that I'm really proud of called Big Band Blues. That is blueshiftbigband.bandcamp.com.
Awesome. Very cool, man. And everybody out there, listen, thank you so much for checking out the Gaming Outsider. This episode was produced by Kevin Honigford, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemage and Metroid Metal. If we haven't mentioned it already, his website is stemagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Joel, before we get out of here, do you have any parting words or recommendations for our listeners?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend a podcast called 20,000 Hertz. Every episode is a different aspect of sound, and the most recent episode has a video game twist. I think it's worth your time.
Very cool. I appreciate we usually don't get podcast recommendations in this segment, so that's pretty cool. How about you, CB?
I've fallen even further down the Warhammer hole.
Have you?
God.
You're in book like 8 of 54 now or something?
Well, I'm on book 13.
Oh, jeez.
But I bought a Warcraft army.
Oh my God! Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
how much did it run you?
We're not going to talk about that.
how many mortgages did you take out on your house?
We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about this. All I know is there's a lot of plastic on my table right now.
Have you bought paint?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm meeting up with Nate on Friday, and we're going to have a paint session.
Okay.
So I'm excited. Also, as far as like TV shows, Daredevil Born Again just keeps getting better.
Okay.
Dude, I wish Disney Plus was doing this good for Marvel the entire time.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Mine's a bit of a repeat, but based on Zack's recommendation, I went and watched Juror Number 2 on HBO. Fantastic movie. Oh, it's such a good morality tale. It's a story that will really make you think, even though some things that happen in it are a little ridiculous and probably wouldn't happen in real life. If you like courtroom dramas, it's directed by Clint Eastwood, has a stellar cast. Highly recommend that one. And again, go check out the new album by Coheed and Cambria. I have been listening to it on repeat for the past few days. So until next week, I am Scott Clark with Jacob Gunderson and Chris Behrensmeyer.
Hey, I actually have something maybe.
Oh, sorry, you never do, man.
Yeah, normally it's like, I don't do things. My name is Jake.
I know, but I mean, a thought. At least let me say no.
Sorry, I had lowered expectations.
So one of my go-to things that I listen to kind of like I don't know if I want to chillax or whatever, is I listen to the soundtrack from Subnautica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It is masterpiece of like I played through the game all the way, and you don't I guess necessarily know the music that you're in when you're in it, because sometimes there's too much stuff going on.
Mhm.
But listening to the music outside of the environment there's so much in the music that's actually happening, and it's just awesome. But yeah, you can find that on Spotify, and I love listening to the soundtrack.
Jake,
Very cool.
Since you like that, I would also recommend the music and the soundtrack for Cutie Booty Delivery Duty.
I'm supposed to play that at some point.
You got to tell Joel what you're talking about. He has no
So
idea.
that's what I call Death Stranding.
Okay.
So, but yeah, like, dude, that's a great like low key soundtrack to just kind of have on in the background too.
I would also recommend the soundtrack to Celeste.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent soundtrack.
That soundtrack is so good. There are moments of high energy in it, but for the most part, the story in that game is all about relaxing and finding your center and all this kind of stuff. And that game is such a hauntingly good soundtrack that's my, when I have to do some writing or I have to do some homework or grading papers or something, I have that on in the background almost regularly. It's really good. So, all right, Jake, can I do the outro now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Until next week, everybody, I'm Scott Clark with Jacob Gunderson and Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are the Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you. Catch you guys next time.